May 1945. The Third Reich is collapsing. Berlin is burning. Hitler is dead in his bunker. The Allied forces are hunting Nazi war criminals. Lists of names, photographs, ranks and crimes documented in thick intelligence files. One name is at the top of every list. Hans Kammler, SS General, the man who personally designed and supervised the construction of the gas chambers at Auschwitz. The man who ran the V-2 rocket program that terrorized London. The man who commanded the slave labor of over 1 million concentration camp prisoners. One of the greatest war criminals in the entire history of the Third Reich. In May 1945, Hans Kammler walked into the chaos of the collapsing Reich and was never seen again. No body, no grave, no trial, no punishment. This is his story. Hans Kammler was not a soldier. He was not a fanatic screaming ideology from a podium. He was an engineer. Born in 1901, Kammler studied civil engineering and architecture. He was brilliant, methodical, precise. He had a gift for making complex construction projects happen on time and under budget. He joined the SS in 1933, and he rose quickly, because the SS needed exactly what Kammler offered. Not passion, not ideology, competence. By 1941, he was head of construction for the entire SS empire. This meant he was responsible for building everything the SS needed. Barracks, training facilities, administrative buildings, and concentration camps. Kammler approached the construction of concentration camps with the same methodical efficiency he brought to every project. He studied the existing facilities. He identified the inefficiencies. He redesigned the systems. He was not a man who lost sleep over what he was building. He was a man who took pride in building it well. In 1942, the Nazi leadership gave Kammler his most important assignment, Auschwitz-Birkenau. The decision had been made to murder the entire Jewish population of Europe. This was not a spontaneous act of violence. It was a planned industrial operation, and like any industrial operation, it required infrastructure. The existing methods were too slow, too visible, too inefficient. The SS needed something bigger, something permanent, something that could operate at scale without stopping. They gave the problem to Kammler. His solution was the integrated crematorium and gas chamber complex, a building that combined the killing space, the body processing, and the disposal system into a single efficient unit. Prisoners would enter at one end, ash would exit at the other. He built 4 of these complexes at Birkenau. At peak operation in 1944, the Auschwitz complex was processing over 10,000 people per day. Kammler received a commendation from Himmler for his work. He filed it with his other paperwork and moved on to the next project. In 1943, Kammler was given a new assignment, one that would connect him directly to the future of human civilization. The V-2 rocket program. The V-2 was the world's first ballistic missile, 46 feet tall, capable of carrying a 1-ton warhead over 200 miles, flying at 3,000 miles per hour, arriving without warning, unstoppable by any existing air defense. Kammler was put in charge of production and deployment. He moved the V-2 production underground, into a vast tunnel complex in the Harz Mountains, called Mittelwerk, carved out of solid rock by concentration camp prisoners from the Dora camp. The conditions in the tunnels were so brutal that more people died building the V-2 rockets than were ever killed by the rockets themselves. Kammler did not care about this. He cared about the production numbers. Between September 1944 and March 1945, over 3,000 V-2 rockets were fired at London, Antwerp, and other Allied cities. They killed nearly 9,000 civilians. And through all of it, Kammler was building relationships with the scientists who ran the program. Men like Wernher von Braun. Men whose knowledge of rocketry was priceless. Men who would become very valuable to the Americans after the war. By early 1945, everyone in the Nazi leadership could see that the war was lost. Kammler was planning something. He understood better than almost anyone in the SS what the Americans wanted. He had spent 2 years working directly with the most advanced rocket scientists in the world. He knew where they were. He knew what they had built. He knew what their research contained. In the final weeks of the Reich, Kammler took personal control of Wernher von Braun and the entire V-2 scientific team. He moved them south into the Austrian Alps, away from the Soviets, away from the Americans. He was positioning them as his personal bargaining chips. On May 4, 1945, Hans Kammler was last seen near Prague. After that, nothing. The official story was that he had committed suicide, that his aide had shot him on his orders, that his body was buried somewhere in the chaos of the collapsing front. But no body was ever found. No grave was ever identified. No credible witness ever came forward. The Americans searched for him. He was on their most wanted list. They never found him. Or so they said. Operation Paperclip is not a conspiracy theory. It is documented historical fact. Between 1945 and 1959, the United States government secretly brought over 1,600 Nazi scientists and engineers to America. Their Nazi pasts were hidden. They were given new identities and government jobs. They went to work for NASA, the U.S. Army, and American weapons programs. Wernher von Braun became the director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. He built the Saturn V rocket that put men on the moon. Hans Kammler had been the man controlling all of these scientists. He knew their secrets. He knew where their documents were hidden. He knew where their hardware was stored. Several researchers who have investigated Kammler's disappearance have concluded that he made a deal. That American intelligence extracted him from Europe in exchange for everything he knew. That he spent the rest of his life somewhere under a false identity, protected by the same government that was officially hunting him as a war criminal. The CIA files on Kammler remain partially classified to this day. That fact alone tells you something. In 2019, the German government officially declared Hans Kammler dead. They set his date of death as May 9th, 1945. No evidence, no body, just a legal declaration to close an open file. Every other major figure of the Third Reich has an ending. Hitler died in his bunker. Himmler bit a cyanide capsule the night of his capture. Göring poisoned himself before his execution. Eichmann was caught in Argentina and hanged in Israel. Kammler has no ending. Just a date on a German government document. Just a legal fiction. Just silence where an answer should be. The man who built the gas chambers at Auschwitz. The man who ran the rocket program that killed 9,000 civilians. The man who worked 1 million prisoners to death in underground tunnels. He walked into the chaos of May 1945. And someone, somewhere, let him walk out the other side. That is perhaps the most disturbing fact of the entire Second World War. Not that such a man existed, but that he got away with it.